Yeah, I enjoyed playing Callahan. That was good. That was a good one.
Fun. Yeah, that's a fun one. It's kind of simple enough, to sort of keep you. I don't know. I like it. I like it as a warm up tune. It's like a kind of one of the go to tunes. I'll pick up the banjo and just start playing on it.
Yeah. We're just gonna start in G today.
Yeah, we'll start in G. I figure we'd go over some two finger basics.
Nice.
Did the YouTube channel? Did you get to by any chance see that YouTube? You're on the. You've seen all the YouTube videos through the Lonesome John page, didn't you?
Yeah, I don't know if I've looked at all of them, but I did go back and look at the one that you had sent. That was good.
The one I shared, did that work by clicking on the link? I wasn't sure. Matthew in our email said that something didn't work, and I wasn't sure.
Seemed like it did. Which song was it?
I mean, hold on. I posted a link in like the group email thing to a YouTube video. And he had mentioned something didn't work. I don't know if it was the passcode to the recording or if it was the video, the YouTube video, if it worked. If he was able to get it to work.
The two finger banjo video on YouTube worked just great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
I was hoping so because I was just getting around to checking my messages and stuff today, and I seen somebody had posted that it kind of something wasn't working. So I don't know. I'm bad at I'm learning this all as we go along.
So just really quick, it's 4:30 in California and I'm cooking dinner, so I'm gonna disappear 2 times to manage the oven.
All right. Are you making cookies for us?
Making calzones.
Oh, we'll take that. That'll be fine.
So the dough had to rise, and yeah. Hopefully they'll turn out.
Perfect.
I'm just pushing all my little buttons here, just exploring how all this works. It's bizarre to me a little bit. I feel like it's different than last time, like what I'm seeing. That sounds like it to me.
It's somewhat close.
Yeah, that sounds like it to me. How is everyone on as far as like two finger banjo playing? Like, how did I often gauge two finger banjo playing is often something that people are lesser familiar with than the overhand stroke. So I'm just wondering, if where everybody kind of is with it. I don't know. I don't want to get too technical or too crazy right out of the gate. If many people haven't had, like some two finger banjo playing experience before. When I mean two finger, I'm talking about like it's basically the style I learned from. I got most of what I do for two finger style from Lee, but George does a lot of two finger style. And if you go back in old recordings and stuff, you can hear like people like Roscoe, Holcomb, and the Shepherd brothers from over here in Jenkins area. And well, there's a lot there's a lot of two finger banjo styles from all over the mountains, not just in Eastern Kentucky. The more we become kind of on using, you know, the internet or whatever, the more I hear and see other finger picking styles that I didn't know about, which I think is pretty cool. But Kentucky's kind of known for having a little, like a two finger picking style.
Blanche Cold
And-
Iron is on the old Kentucky Kentucky Old Time Banjo album.
Yeah.
And I got to learn a couple of things from her in person before she died. But she was from Slade area up in Wolfe County, and she had a really interesting two finger style. Sue Masick studied with her and played quite a few things that of Blanche's. But boy, I wish everybody could have gotten to hear Blanche play, because she's such a sweetie and had a real interesting style.
Yeah, I've found that, you know, having a two finger style is something that a lot of folks, it's just part of their repertoire. They're not Lee in the last, you know, I don't know how long it had been since the coon bit his hand incident, but he almost exclusively has been playing two finger for, well, the whole time I ever played with him in the Lee Sexton band, he only played two finger style. I could only get him to club one out or something when we were sitting around at his house, you know, and nobody was looking. And that's where I'd pick up some of his little overhand techniques. So I guess the two finger style is this something he gravitated to after the coon incident. So I picked up a lot of the stuff from just sitting next to him, trying to keep up with him on the guitar or the fiddle, just depending on what kind of gig we were playing. And I would just look over my shoulder and watch him over my left shoulder, and I would just see how he would. I would be like, man, this is an 86-year-old man, you know, and he's going all up the neck, going crazy on a few things. And I was always just very impressed with that style of banjo playing. And if you're not familiar with it, I mean, are you guys fairly well familiar with it? Or does anybody have a basic little, some people sometimes have already a basic little understanding of it, but I'll give you a basic rundown. So the video, I can't remember what was in the little video I shared. Did you guys all got to watch that, I hope? Who else is here? Okay. So hopefully you got to watch that. But two finger, to me, basically there's many different patterns. Every time I try to break it down, I end up figuring out there's a lot of other stuff that you can do. It's basically an alternation between the thumb, the ring, and then the thumb again. And it just kind of goes back and forth. Where your ring finger kind of stays on this string, and sometimes it comes up. When I was first learning two finger and getting used to it, my index finger almost stayed exclusively on my first string here. But as I played and as I watched Lee play, and I watched how Lee had adapted his styles, I went from doing this to this. And I'm bringing my index finger to the inside, to the B string. So. And I've learned how to kind of control that a little bit. Because a lot of what two finger banjo playing gives you a little bit more access to, it makes playing up the neck a little more fun. And exploring around what Lee calls finger work. and we'll get into finger work stuff later, but we'll get a few basic little things down here first. So the 2-finger lick is kind of like, you've got this. Some people just vary it. See, I'm kind of making a little bit of an attempt to hit 2 strings at once with my fingers sometimes. I'll just show you from the side what it looks like. I think we got our trusty little camera. And then Lee and Roscoe were cousins, and Lee's criticism of Roscoe Holcomb was that he put too many brushes in his playing. And I think because you can hear that sometimes in Roscoe's playing, that little bit of that. And then Lee, of course, is usually Lee always plays with picks too. Even around the house, sometimes if I come over, he'll play with picks. I think he's mastered a certain level of control. If you've ever played with picks, and I do sometimes, it's like I have to be used to playing with them on. I think right now, if I were to put on some picks, I would have a hard time because I haven't been playing with picks on because I haven't been playing out. But Lee got a way of, he plays with picks and it sounds real different when he doesn't play with picks on. But anyway, I like not playing with picks because it gives me, I can do more stuff. To me, picks with old time banjo playing are just kind of clumsy, and they limit you because you're always like knocking them off or something because there's a lot of these little like I think that was referred to as the thumb and tickle. I'm trying to think of his name here. What is his name down there? He did a little album. They called it the Tennessee Line. Virgil Anderson. Virgil Anderson had the thumb and tickle, which I never really mastered. I just noticed it's just one of the little differences I've noticed with people. So you got your little things like that, and then there's another one that's just kind of like, because the one noticeable hurdle you're going to have trouble with anytime you're playing 2-finger style is when you're playing a song. We'll learn this one basic one. It is the Kentucky Gambler. I may have, if you ever took my Cowan class, I always like to play with this tune as a nice little intro 2-finger tune because you can play it pretty much with all open strings, or you can fancy it up, and that's one of the beauties of this style playing. And I sometimes have to think of the words to help me remember a song, so I'll play a little bit here for you. Someone who can can be me. I want to know his name. There's more words to it, but it's a pretty basic tune. You just kind of the key to learning a two-finger tune is just to first try to just pick out the melody on with your thumb. So you get the first line of the tune in your head, like, my daddy was a gambler. Daddy was a gambler. So it's all pretty open. My daddy was you got your you'll have this a lot, your little thing on the two finger or the two fret, the second fret. So my daddy was a gambler. So back on the G. He taught. So you kind of step up to the next one. He taught me. So kind of make it a point to grab that note here with your index finger. So what you're doing is you're kind of running through the tune, getting it down with your thumb. So my daddy was a gambler. He taught me how. So me how to play. So my daddy was a gambler. He taught me how to play. So it's all pretty much open except for you're just kind of doing the same little hammer on here as you are here. He told me to stand my cards on the deuce and trade. I call it like it's like a box. It's like a little box between the second fret and being open. Most of that stuff is. So to get the two finger part in, so we'll get the melody one more time here. My daddy was a gambler. He taught me how to play. He taught me to stand my cards on the deuce and trade. And then you take that and you add the picking pattern in there. So what you're going to end up doing is, and there's another one. There's another little picking pattern that I kind of refer to as a gallop. I think of it in my mind as a gallop. That just kind of goes, because you're going to do it right out of the get-go on this. It's just like a boom, check it down. Well, in this case, you're going to use it as a pickup for your two finger pattern. So you're going to be like something like that. And there's the pinch. So the pinch sometimes comes when you so the opening of the tune, you're going to throw in these patterns. It's going to go. So that's my dad. That's all it is. My dad. So if I slow it down, that's what we're doing. Show it from the side. Fret here. just practice that because it's kind of like a feel, like a lick. And one of the things when I did like the actual real formal, a more formal apprenticeship with George, even though I'd already lived next to him for a few years, one of the things he had me practice was just like some of the licks in the tunes. Not so much the tunes themselves, but the little licks that you would have kind of at the beginning here, like this is a rest. This is kind of like a rest lick. So when you're singing a song and you reach the end of the phrasing, so you can just kind of rest on that for a minute. Does that make sense to you guys? You know, in any tune, you know, it's a pickup note. It's also a rest. My dad, you throw it in there. My dad was a gambler. So you're using it all in there. And then you can do a pitch on a note like that. Or I'm just when there are notes that come together, you sacrifice a finger, you know what I mean? And that kind of helps. It kind of, in a way, sometimes it can help or hinder you depending on how you get into it. You could kind of be like, see how those notes were in succession, and I had to kind of keep my thumb going, or it could be like. Threw it in like a little quick, like I don't know where, like at some point during that, I'm not really hitting the thumb string anymore. And when the melody's happening around here, the this string turns into like a second droned string. So you got this and this. So when you start doing slides and stuff, the melody's all happening on these little, you know, these three strings basically, your low three strings. And this finger is just kind of droning right there. And even little, and it's all just how you want to do, you know, how you want to fill in those phrases, just like any other type of banjo playing. You know, the tune's there, but how you do the phrasing is just up to you. So that's my dad was a gambler. He taught me how to play. So that's kind of getting you warmed up to start thinking of how the melody might switch from playing on the thumb to here. He taught me how to play. So you're kind of, he taught. So instead of doing it here, you're doing it here. So this song actually has a pause, like between the verses. George would do a little lick where he just goes. So it's getting you thinking about the melody going to that first string using this, and just like this was a lick. This is one too. So it's just a little something you can practice that has a little bit of everything in it. That's not just the tune, you know, that you're. Sometimes when you're playing two finger style, you're trying to play a tune, you can get really just kind of hung up, and frustrated. because you don't have your basic foundation yet for it. And you know, like a tune like Hook and Line has something in it that's real basic like that. Hook and Line is almost just a lick played over and over again. You know, just like this. All I'm doing is hammering on that second fret there, right here, on the G string, and then my thumb goes. This finger flies up on that. I'm probably exaggerating it a little bit for the lesson, but let's see. So it's like I hit the B string. And then I just kind of go. That's a good way to start it. Oops. And you add that into the song again. So practice that stuff up, and then to get back to the tune, it's it's a very similar song to like The War is Raging for Johnny. Have you know that heard that song? Pete Steele from down the Harlan County recorded that for the Library of Congress, maybe. The War is a Raging for Johnny has to fight. Can I go with you, Johnny? Morning or night? Something like that. It's almost the same song now that I'm thinking about it. You know, I have some questions. I think a lot of this is, you know, again, like you get the tune in your head, and then you can start playing with it and committing it all to memory and stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. Early on, you were brushing some notes, and I didn't quite catch which ones and with which finger.
In this song, this particular tune?
I don't remember. Maybe it was before that.
Or when I was just maybe explaining the tune.
Yeah, maybe it was before, so that's okay.
Okay. Yeah, we were doing some like let's see. That little lick there. Which is something that I have just played with, not really. There's a few tunes where learning to incorporate a little brush with this finger in there really is beneficial. There's a way of playing, Going Down in Town, if I can remember it. That song, Going Down to Lynchburg Town. See, I wasn't even thinking of this tune before the class. Let's see if let's see. Let's see if I can remember it. guess. So. Go ahead.
So after the brush, which is with the index finger, where does the thumb go?
Like that. But I'm going to a note that's on the melody. A melody. So what I've got happening there, that there's almost like it's almost like a compensation technique. The reason I'm throwing that brush in there, because I really can't do anything else in there right now. So it's like, to do without the brush would sound more like. So I'm throwing the brush in and I'm going. And there's a few tunes that I play that cross the line. There's like there's another way of playing some tunes. It's upstroke playing. And upstroke playing a lot of times will work out in combination with two finger style of playing with certain tunes. And so like a tune like Breaking Up Ice on the Alleghenies, was a Neil Pop Collins tune. It just kind of went like this. It's a real simple tune. This is another great simple tune to introduce you to varieties of picking style, which is going to be very important to what we're going to do, because well, we're broadening our playing. We're making our playing, instead of, I tend to focus a lot on, getting our playing better, throwing in some cool tunes, but also giving you stuff that you can take and play on tunes that you know already, like the back of your hand. But this tune like this tune here, it's a Neil Pop Collins tune, and it's just called Breaking Up Ice in the Alleghenies. And it's very similar to a Jimmy McCallum tune called Snowdrops. And I actually, when I play Jimmy McCallum's tune, I use a very similar approach, which is up picking. Jimmy never played up picking, but it's something that I'm very comfortable with, and I really enjoy it and feel like it adds a certain flavor to tunes depending on the tune. Again, not always. So this tune, it just goes like this. See how that tune really kind of bridges the gap, and it's really simple tune to play. And you could play it however you wanted to. If you're familiar with downstroke playing mostly, then you could really do that and have fun with that tune.
I like
It's
how
pretty basic.
syncopated. Sorry about
What's
that.
that? Go
I like
ahead.
how syncopated that one is.
What do you mean by that?
Just it almost feels like you got twice as many notes going on.
Yeah, there's a lot to play with there because the tune really is just kind of so simple that you can throw a lot of things in there. Like, for instance, the melody goes back and forth between these three notes here. It's very simple. And one of the keys is the next time around, you stop and make that little D chord. And when I make the D chord, I let the bass string ring out. I don't just bar the whole chord, just bar, sometimes just bar two of the notes. But the chord becomes implied by like letting that bass string ring out. So, and not only are you just going, if you add the pull-offs. And so basically what I'm doing at the beginning is I'm keeping my fingers planted. That's another little trick to two-finger playing. Keeping at least your pinky down. And probably your ring finger too. A lot of people playing two-finger will have like a floating middle finger that just kind of follows this finger. So if you're watching them, it looks like they're playing three-finger, but they're not. This finger is floating behind that finger. I tend to put all three of these fingers here down for two-finger picking or for three-finger picking. You know how you tell if Lee Sexton played your banjo? It's got this little thing here. See that little blemish right there? That's from his pinky finger. He puts his pinky finger on every banjo to the point to where that's only him playing this banjo like one or two times, maybe three, I don't know. It was his go-to. We did take it with us on some shows, and it was his go-to. I put it in cross key for him. But I once had to fix one of his banjos there. He wears the hoe out right there. So with up picking is keeping your fingers planted. And it's basically doing the downstroke picking backwards, I guess, only your you can there's the little birdie lick to that where you're kind of, we'll get into that later, but like Morgan, Lee's uncle, would do a little, and Lee does it when he plays little birdie, does a little like a little pat. Coming back down and hitting it. So the other thing that I'm doing, I'm picking and I'm making sure I'm coming up and hitting these bass notes. You know what I mean? To keep the whole banjo rolling. I'm just holding those three and on the 7. And then I end it by going. It's hard for me to slow this down. Let me think here. probably more likely to hit this B string with my index finger by going. And then that's how it goes. So you're kind of back to two finger picking. And then, so then once you get comfortable with that tune, you know, any of these tunes the banjo and the dulcimer have a very similar relationship to one another in that, you know, the dulcimer has these drone strings, and there's a style of playing the dulcimer where you lay the dulcimer in your lap and you have a noter and you run it up and down and you play a tune that way. So this tune here is kind of like that approach to the banjo, like a dulcimer. So where you're playing the melody up and down this single string, and you can get all your whole melody of a G string, all of a G tune, all the way up and down that one string while you're letting it sort of play out. And then you can throw in that we did last class. So like the however you want to do it. It's hard when I'm doing lessons. I'll do something one way, and then when I slow it down, I'll do it another way. And then the other parts of that tune is this. It reminds me of like I don't know. It reminds me of a Christmas song. You can do it like that, or you can do it. And there I'm using my index finger all the way even on the third string. So you can kind of do that with two finger picking. And there I'm using my thumb. So. Yeah, so instead of the that we were doing in the other song, we're having like a thumb, hammer on, brush, thumb, then you do this little. So with a little strum in there. So you can do it. I do it a little bit different every time. You can work up, you know, I suggest working up, you know, a comfortable way of doing that sort of stuff. The way to get it is just to kind of try to use it a little bit, you know, here and there, and then you just kind of eventually it gets. I've even done that part. I can even do the part. I'm just thinking of different little ways that I've like played that tune, even with a sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but like a. It's hard for me to play it like that. Let's see. that's basically just up picking that part of the tune without any sort of anything different. This my middle finger when I'm up picking tends to float, so it's not really doing anything, although it might look like it is. That's just all straight up picking on the tune, which that's fun too. You know, it's just as fun. Questions on any of this? Please ask.
Yeah, John.
Don't let me do all the talking. Yeah, go ahead.
Just to be clear, when you're doing your up picking, you're doing all the picking with your index and your thumb.
My middle finger tends to float, so like I'm doing all the picking during that little phrase with just my index and thumb until that last strum, and then my middle finger.
Yeah, okay.
That's just me doing it without thinking. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just pretty much when I do this tune straight up picking, I'm pretty much strumming with this finger too, until I have like an accent I need to make or something. Then it seems like my index finger comes into play. Yeah, but this finger tends to trail along, and it might give you the impression that there's more going on than what's really happening. It's just that finger, you know, when I'm doing the up picking stuff, especially if I have a tune where I'm up picking around the bass notes, my middle finger really has to fall. But on the high strings, I tend to be able to keep my stuff to just sort of to play with. Take it to a basic tune that you know and apply it to that. I've been playing two-finger banjo the whole time I played the banjo. That was actually the first style of banjo playing that I learned to play, because people like Lee and old recordings of Roscoe Holcomb was really what first inspired me to play. So I was trying to emulate them from, you know, the time I was first playing. So I've been really comfortable with that style, and that style is just super sort of familiar to me. And I love it when you ask questions, because I tend to get lost in it sometimes, wondering, you know, like, how can I teach this? You know, it's really good for waltzes and other things like that too. Somebody was going to ask a question.
I was just going to ask John if Jimmy played this tune both in the double C and in G tuning.
Jimmy?
Yeah, didn't you learn this from Jimmy McCallum?
No, actually, I learned this tune from a recording of Neil Pop Collins.
Okay.
And Neil Collins, actually his grandson, and Rich, you might have met his grandson. He used to come to all those shows at UK that we did that Ron Penn hosted, the Appalachian, the Bluegrass. He used to come to all those. And in fact, he once brought me a photo of his grandmother, who lived in the house that I lived in over on Doubles. And he brought me a photo of her standing on the porch of that house. which I thought was really cool. And he brought it to me at UK. I don't know if I was there playing with Rich and the Poe folks, or if I was there playing with Lee. But what I mentioned earlier, James, was that this song is like first cousin to the Jimmy McCowan tune that's in C. But I also play that tune in the similar style that I play this tune. That makes sense. So when I'm playing the Jimmy McCowan tune, it's tuned to C. So you're kind of doing the same thing, the same exact sort of. Snowdrops is more like something like that, but it's very, very almost. You know what I mean? They're like, and Lee has one. Lee has a tune, and I know Carla Gover's very familiar with this tune. Because I actually first heard Carla Gover play it, and then I'd gotten Lee to, first I heard Carla Gover play it, and then I heard Jack Adams play it. So I'd heard everybody who Lee had taught this tune to, and then finally I heard Lee play it. And it was called Rain Crow. Sometimes he'd call it the Rain Crow Breakdown or something like that, and it would just go like. I can't remember what the low part does, but it's almost very similar to the tunes we were just playing, to the point to where they're all very interspersely sort of related. And you can play, Rain Crow. And I've even played tunes where I kind of switch between up picking and down picking. It just depends on how the tune goes. Playing this style of banjo in a band is really fun, and because you can let the band carry some of the weight sometimes, and you can play around with just different little rhythm patterns and explore that way without having to be too caught up in making the melody, you know what I mean, making the song stand out. I've been getting into some stuff as far as on two-finger banjo playing. We can get into more finger work, or we cannot. How much time do we have? It's still kind of good. Entertain one or two more questions, or just kind of about the overall approach to two-finger banjo playing. There's a lot of other tunes. There was another tune, a basic tune. I'll try to keep it to basic, and then we'll let y'all work through the basic stuff. And then maybe in a couple of weeks we'll do finger work, which we'll refer to that as like up the neck kind of stuff. One more tune to practice though, to get you warmed up to maybe playing up the neck. And we'll leave on this tune, is a tune that's called Little Brown Jug. All kinds of people have played it. I've got a fiddle record. Uncle Charlie Osborne played it, I think, over in Virginia. I learned this little version of it from George, but I apply to it a lot of stuff I learned from Lee. And it's a good getting used to chords and playing a little bit up the neck with a familiar tune. I've also heard this tune and seen this tune in an animated cartoon from back in the Looney Tune days, Little Brown Jug, where a bunch of squirrels are invading this cider mill, and the cider mill overturns or whatever, it explodes, and all the whiskey or whatever, all the liquor goes into the river, and all the animals that drink from the river all are getting drunk and everything. And in the meantime, the farmer sees the cow drinking from the river. So the farmer, while the cow is drinking from the river, is standing there milking the cow and putting the jugs on these turtles, and the turtles are carrying them off. And then it breaks into the song, Little Brown Jug. And I used that cartoon to try to write down all the verses, and I got so exhausted because there were just so many verses. I've got them wrote down somewhere, but the basics of the song is just, you're just kind of going a circle, like. That's all it is. It's like ha ha ha, hey, little brown jug for you and me, ha ha ha, hey, little brown jug for you and me. So that's all it is. So it's just, I think of this tune in chords. G, this is all G. Then I go and I hammer into the C. And that's that lick we just learned from the last song. Only I hammered instead of going, I hammered into a C chord. So, and I tend to go, you can go. When I was first learning this, it was more comfortable to, keep my thumb finger delegated to every string except for this one. But and then you go to the D chord. Same thing. Only you stay on it. And then open. And that's all it does. So or so. I think the pinch sounds a little bit meaner. And you can start playing with pull-offs and stuff. Okay, so once you get that, you can go. So you're just kind of going. You're barring the C, barring this, and going. So, and if you can do this, you're just doing this. Right? There's just no pull off. There's no hammer on. So. And then you slide up. So here's the lick. And this is a lick that you can learn that will take you a lot of places in two-finger banjo playing. Here it is. It's like, so. That little lick right there. That. It's the Beelzebub lick. Beelzebub. How am I doing that? So there's something different in that. So I'm just alternating. Or all I'm doing. That makes makes sense. I'm holding the whole chord down this time. So I'm hitting the bass. Get close. I'll get close. So. And here's where you pull off from this right here. So this finger has to hit two, or I can't do that, so I have to go. Does that make sense? So you kind of have to start. You're pulling off. I'm using a pinky, but you could use this. But the idea is you're barring that. And when you're pulling off to the note that you're barring, you're not open. So and that's it. So pull off with the index. Hit the second string with the index, so it's like a little. And then hit that middle string. And then you end it by just fifth string. So. So you start playing with the chords. So those are that's easy to do. Then you can start. Start linking them together. I look at it like a, so you got your open, of course. So you got this. So then what else do you have? You have another position of chords, right? I learned to familiarize myself with a closed G position right here. Does everybody know that? It's a middle finger on the G here. You go buy you like a bluegrass chord book, and then this finger here, and then this finger on the 4th fret, 3rd string, and then this finger on the bass. You kind of just know that, and sometimes you won't even play those chords, but you'll play through them. So you know that you have a G. So then where's your C? So you're going to have a C. The C is going to be on the next, all the way up here on the 10th. There's a C. So, and then go 2 more steps and you got a D, or 2 more frets, you got a D. Right? So. So just knowing that that's a G, that's a C. There's another G that's a real happy place to be. That's right here. And when you take, what I do is I take this C and I back it up and then switch these 2 fingers. That makes sense. So it's like a step from the G string 7th fret, B string 8th fret, then the 9th fret, right? So you got this little, and that's a G. And then also know that the middle finger here, this little number here, That's a G as well. It's just 2 fingers there, and you can hit those. This is kind of where all your Doc Boggsy kind of stuff lies. You know, he would always that's where all that stuff would kind of land. And just those 2 notes, or. Right, so you got that. And then it just, and what that is, if you think about it in your mind, all that is a C chord that has you barred, you know, like with the capo or whatever. I grew up playing a lot of rock and roll music, so bar chords and stuff like this are, you know, are very intriguing to me. And that's also your D right here. Your D, you play it all used to like a D7. You got a D major here, but you can also add these fingers. There'll be certain times you'll need that 4th fret note. Or in a D, like if a song has a D chord. And knowing where these chords are, it's not like when I'm playing a lot of tunes, I end up playing so much of the chords that I just know where they're at. Lee would almost play parts of chords either with 2 strings, let the other strings drone out, or sometimes he would play a full chord every once in a while if it really mattered, I guess. But the most recent tune I learned of his, that Lee Boy Blues, he actually keeps the banjo tuned in G but plays out of D. And like I said, that's one tune I always played along with him, but I finally got up the nerve to really kind of sit in the garage and say, I'm going to get it down. I'm going to play this tune. You know, Lee, it's like this. It's like I'm going to get it. But anyway, so Little Brown Jug, again, what I do is I'll take the best way to practice playing up the neck is take these chord progressions that you know, and also remember that they repeat after the 12th fret. So you can land on that G up here. And that C. And there's your G again. And so a tune like Little Brown Jug, you can start like putting these chord progressions together, or these chords together under like, so using two chord positions per 1 chord change. Does that make sense? So like, so now I'm going to use 2 chords for the changes. So like, I'm going to go like, actually that was 3. So I can go like, does that make sense? Kind of what I did there. I was only thinking about the chords, but that's one of those kind of tunes where it's like, there's that G, or I could go. That's the D. So instead of holding one position for the full chord count, I divide it up with different little positions. And there's any tunes like Going Down the Road Feeling Bad. Let's see. Well, what was another? There was another one. Oh, There's one, Lee Boy Boogie, is real fun to play. Oh, I call it Lee Boy Boogie, but it's really his version of a Earl Scruggs song. We'd always play it. It's just like a. And it's just, training those chords together, like the G's. But I'm just, then I go to the C's. And that's my D's.
John, do you know what the name of the Earl Scruggs song is?
I always forget it because I got used to calling it Lee Boy Blues because I would not want to say I'm about to play this Earl Scruggs tune. I don't know if it's Earl. It's not Earl's Breakdown. I want to say that there's a WMMT DJ used that for his theme song, but I can't. Like one of the bluegrass DJs from back when the good old days, back when people actually was on there. Can't remember somebody I feel like had that theme song. So questions. I don't want to overwhelm people and then make it, or anything, but fun stuff to play on a little bit. So I'm ready to entertain questions. Go ahead. So hopefully I'll be able to post this properly, send you guys the link. It usually at some point in time, it sends me the thing. And hopefully you can, did you guys get to watch it back before? All right, good. So come up with some questions to ask for next time, which would be good. And then we will probably get into just a little more of what we've already done. We'll probably stay in G and just get into just take it to the next step. And then after that, we'll start playing with different tunings and all that sort of stuff. And in the meantime, feel free to message me of any questions. My week gets, once my work week kind of starts, it's just like, that's where I am. I have to kind of be there. So I tend to forget all about checking emails and all that sort of stuff. So feel free to use that stuff however you want, and I'll try to get on there and check it. And you guys have a good rest of your week. Try to stay off the internet and the news.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John. It's a good class. A lot of good stuff today.
Thanks.
Yeah, buddy.
Thanks.
Ask about Lee and Opal.
John,
What's that?
you still there? What's the latest on Lee?
Well, I
No.
got a message from Johnny yesterday. I messaged Johnny and he said that they've moved him to the nursing home in Hyden.
Huh.
And he said, he's here, he's there sometimes and he's not. Mentally, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he said prayers were needed. There was another lady, Jennifer Riley was her name, had been talking to me. She had me pretty nervous there for a while. When she said he had hit his head and had a brain bleed.
Yeah.
And he was having these mild heart attacks. And but then I talked to Johnny, so he's in the nursing home there in Hyden, and I'm not sure where Opal is right now.
How is she doing? Do you know?
I don't know how Opal is right now. I think she's at home. I don't know if someone's staying with her or what. You know, her sugar is kind of, her sugar is always bad, but that's all I know. I'm not sure where Opal is. I would like to think she's staying with someone.
Yeah, really.
Because Opal always, Lee really, they both watched out for each other.
Boy, that's true.
But yeah, it would be nice if one could go visit Lee in the nursing home. I thought about that a lot, and how this is tragic that this all happened during these times when we can't go visit people. I was going to look into this. My granny's in a nursing home out in Western Kentucky, and I've been able to take pictures and send them to the nursing home on the internet, or they can share with her stuff, like, because they have a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And it crossed my mind to play a tune and tell them to send it to Lee or something.
Oh boy, we've got a friend in a nursing home, a similar restricted situation, but we were able to work with them to do a FaceTime call.
Okay. I wonder if that would be easy for Lee. Well, I can imagine, just knowing Lee, not knowing what shape he is, but I couldn't imagine on a normal day doing a FaceTime call with Lee.
Yeah, right. Well, they'd have to. They just have to, set him down in front of the computer and push buttons for him. But
I would like to think he could be capable of us, doing something like that. But yeah, I'll be staying in touch with Johnny as much as I can. And I don't know. Hopefully, just keep praying for him.
Yeah.
We all don't live forever, but just keep praying for him.
Okay.
You guys, see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Same bat time.
Hey, Rich, I just wanted to say I've been listening to your radio show a lot this past year, and I really appreciate everything you're doing, man. All the way up in New York. It's great.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm glad to know somebody's listening.
Yeah.
You just never know. You just never know.
Yeah, it's made its way up here. It's great.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. See.
Is that on WMMT?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Tuesdays from 1 to 3.
All right. Good deal. I'll have to listen. Good to see you, Rich.
Okay, good to see you.
All right.
Y'all take care.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.